Henry Gross on the wonderment that is Elvis Presley. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. I remember when I discovered Elton John in the 70s, I was excited because I kind of knew he already had albums. I think when I discovered him, he had 4 or 5 albums out already. And I got excited knowing that I could go to the record store right now and get another new album. It wasn't new to everybody else, but it was new to me. And when I talk to people like Henry Gross, since, like, for instance, he was at Woodstock. He was 18 when he was on the main stage with the band Sha Na Na. And I think he's the only guy I've ever talked to, I think, that was at Woodstock. And he loves the history of music. He loves the history of comedy. He likes going back and checking out. He's the type of guy that if he loves someone, he wants to find out who inspired them. And then he goes back from there. In this clip, we talked about a lot of stuff, and Elvis was in there.
Time where my trajectory in music changed. I was 17 years old when Elvis died that summer, and my mother came up to me and said, Elvis is dead. I said, what are you upset for? And she was crying. I said, Elvis is dead. And I said, oh, Mom, that's not such a big deal. It's just Elvis. And I remember she turned around and schooled me. My mother didn't know a lot about music. And it literally changed, you know, and I stopped doing things like, what do you mean you like that artist? What are you crazy? I'm going, you like what you like, and you can't help that.
No, you weren't there. You know, you didn't get it. It's like people that didn't get Ray Charles. You know, if you weren't there and you weren't young and you didn't hear Hit the Road Jack, or you know, or you didn't hear any of that Atlantic stuff. You know, you know, if you didn't hear that, you know what I say, then you thought that the Beatles thought of it on Day Tripper, and you didn't realize that they ripped that off Watch Your Step. You know, which is a total rip-off of that record, you know, but which Lennon admitted. He just took the record and ripped it off. But, you know, it's all derivative. But Elvis it was sort of, you know, like a tornado. The hot air met the cold, the white air met the dark black air, and all of a sudden this swirling thing happened that was acceptable to black and white people. And that is what more can, you know, what more? He cut through a lot of stuff built up from a couple of 100 years there, and just by virtue of the fact of being so generous to all kinds of people on a personal level. I mean, you know, Elvis was, like the Beatles said, was all by himself inventing something and out there with this Tom Parker, which, you know, people love to indict Tom Parker. Well, you know, I mean, so he murdered someone. I mean, but, you know, but the truth is, I mean, Marlon Brando got $200,000 for Streetcar Named Desire, and Elvis got $1 million for Kissing Cousins, and it was a business. You know, Tom Parker. At the end, he sold him out, you know, for $5 million to sell out the catalog, which they undid. You know about that. He sold out the rights, but I mean, that was disgraceful. But you know, carnies aren't rehearsing; they're the real deal. They're carnies.
Has your audience grown with you, or do they get you? Do they understand?
My audience doesn't even want to hear the old stuff. Some nights, when I pull out, I'll play "Plug Me Into Something" cover to cover, and everybody has a great time. And they go, "Oh yeah," you know. Or I have to play Southern Band, or One More Tomorrow, or Tomorrow's Memory Lane. But there are places, especially in the South of the United States, where that album was huge, as was the other A&M album with Skin King and all that. And so I'll pull some of those out. But in general, I think people are surprised that they just heard 2 hours of music they never heard, but they knew it. And I get reviews that say that. You know, I get reviewed sometimes by reviewers and go, you know, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting he'd play Simone and, you know, Shannon,
Springtime
Mama. And instead, you know, I go up and I go, the waitress asked me if I'm famous. I said, no, but I'm hungry. She said, the eggs are cold, the toast is burnt, the bacon's mostly fat. And I say, lucky me. I like it like that. You know, I take them I'm going to other places, man.
Yeah. Good for you. That's probably the most encouraging thing I've heard in a long time. I went to see Todd Rundgren once, and I never recognized, and I've been following Todd for a while. I didn't recognize in Blaine, Washington, and I remember him going up on stage going, "Welcome to Blaine." It was weird. But I didn't recognize one song. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
He should have opened with "Hello, It's Not Me."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the guy's great. You know, this is the thing. People say, well, Paul McCartney, is he 75 or 70? I don't know how old he is, 76. But whatever he is, he's got a new album, this Egypt Station. You know, it's like and I'll buy 3 copies of it because I want the first pressing. and if mine gets scratched or falls on the pavement, I got to have a new one, and I can't have a later pressing that's not approved by Paul, that some kid that's totally deaf from listening to what is being passed off as compression in music does to CDs now. I mean, I put them on and I go, wow. I remember I did a CD. It wasn't a CD. I got together with my buddies Jonathan Edwards, Sunshine Go Away Today, and Henry Paul is the lead singer of the Outlaws and Black Hawk, the country band. We had a big hit with Big Guitar, a song Henry and I wrote, and we got together and we started singing because we've been friends for a long time, the three of us, and we started, and it sounded so amazing, and I knew it was great because all these women started to show up, like my wife's friends, and they wouldn't go in where they always go by the pool. They would be sitting around. Of course, they were sitting around and look at Henry Paul, but hey, this is what women did in those days. I don't, if I was a woman, I'd have looked at Henry Paul. He's a big, handsome guy, and so was John, and and I told jokes. So, but they were hanging on. We thought, well, this might be good. And nobody wanted to record it, so I said, well, I booked Mel Tillis' studio, and we went over and recorded for 2 nights and an afternoon. Didn't have musicians to make tracks, so I just put up a click. I played 2 guitars. John played a little harmonica, and then we sang them like they were master records, with the 3 of us on one mic. And we made this thing, and it's phenomenal. We called it, Edwards. First we called it, the Vereen's, because we thought, we're doing it all here. Let's be like Ben Vereen. He does it all. But we thought a great hook would be the Vereens are looking for a few good men. But then, then we decided just to call it Edward Gross and Paul. So there's 2 different CDs we pressed. But I recorded it and never did anything with it. And we did it in like 1992, and it was 2 or 3 years ago. All of us never stopped playing it, and we would play it for our friends, this dozen songs or whatever. Everybody would go, that's the best thing I've ever heard. I love this. So I went and had it mastered by this guy I work with in Florida, and I sent it to Jonathan Edwards. And he said, Henry, this is no good. And I said, what's the matter with it? He said, it's too soft. I said, John, I'll give you 2 more dB, bro. That's all you're getting. And that's all and it sounds great. If you want to hear it louder, you know what you do? You go over there's a big dial and you turn it up, but there's no distortion. It sounds like a record. The voices are pristine and stellar and beautiful, and it doesn't sound like, I mean, you ever go in a studio and look at the wave files of new records? There's no, like, a wave file is supposed to look like this. A comb. Different height, teeth, different height. Now it looks like this. It's just it's a box. You put on, and then they lower it 3 points so it doesn't jump off the thing. All I hear is distortion on some of these records, and I like some of these records, and I can't listen to them.
We will have more of our conversation with the great Henry Gross coming up next week. Go to henrygross.com, by the way. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And buy our t-shirts. We have some new Rock History Music sweatshirts and t-shirts right in the description of this video. You can order them right there. This is Rock History Music.